Just up till recently, the most recent biggest war ended in 1945, the Second World War. Killed about 50 million people, 5 crore, on the name of nationalism. They killed each other. During this process, I will just shorten it, I'm not here for a history lesson, when they challenged one another, and there was a war fatigue in the whole continent. There's a small town in Germany, it is called Westphalia. And from there, the Westphalian idea of the state emerged. That there would be a territory, defined territory, which all of these players would agree to, where the idea of sovereignty would lie with the authority. And there would be non-interference in each other's affairs. And that Westphalian idea of the state was quite new and quite recent, as compared to what was told to us that Pakistan is a so-called artificial country. And when I further delved in, I realized that there is a Rome in history, but there is no Italy in history. Italy was the unification of Florence and Naples and Rome and all these Sicily and other principalities. And it was just post-1860. So is Italy also an artificial state? So is the case with Spain. They call it Spanish unification, Italian unification, French unification, German unification. United Kingdom. Was there in England since Adam and Eve? When the Vikings settled, well, not settled, when they conquered the north of England, there were small entities, 4 or 5. One was known as Northumbria, there was Mercia, and there was Essex and Wessex in the east. And later on, King Alfred, who was probably the Jenna of Englishmen, he thought about having a super political entity called England. And he dreamt for it, he struggled for it, and he achieved it. So this idea of the Westphalian state is quite new, unique, and modern. So was the case with Pakistan. Yes, the nation building project in my opinion is a conscious effort. It does not come as a finished product. It's not a bottle of Coca-Cola. It has to evolve. It has to evolve. In that evolving situation, the institution building and the nation building, they go side by side, in my humble opinion. Did we do well in the case of Pakistan? I must admit that we failed the idea of Pakistan. We failed the founders of Pakistan. We failed the people who inspired for this nation and this piece of land. It was with very lofty ideals, which should have given a lot of inspiration and commitment and emotional investment of its citizenry. Where did we go wrong? We can debate for hours and hours on that. But let's admit it that there is some shortcoming. And that shortcoming is not always on the side of the state. I'm not absolving the state's responsibility. All I'm trying to convey over here is that the society and the state, they both, if become contestant to one another, if they start vying for certain political or social order, then such conflicts do arise. Then such confusions do generate. But if there is a dialogue and an environment where both can communicate and appreciate and understand the perspective of one another, then a modus vivendi and a coexistence start appearing. I keep on hearing that youth is disenchanted from Pakistan. They have come to the level where there is an element of even hatred, what to talk of dislike. I've been traveling all around the world. Let me share with you here. Most of the black and Hispanic people in the US, which is the modern day Jeffersonian democracy, if you pass on the questionnaire to them and get a statistical data, probably you will be surprised that most of them, Afro-American or Hispanic American, hate United States. So that hatred does not translate that the idea of the government of the state of the United States of America is always wrong. So you have to judge, you have to delve in, you have to inquire, you have to see that which side deserves that meritocracy on which you base an opinion. For instance, if you face any medical challenge or condition, would you go to the best physician in the town, or you would just go to the quack? I'm pretty much sure that the human body and its defense mechanism works in a way that you would love to have the finest physician and access to it in the town, whatever is available. But if the body politic is sick, you rely on quacks, you rely on vlogs, you rely on social media. You do not go to the best physician, which is the social scientist. That is one fear I have from this generation, that they do not make ingenuous or smart choices. You have to make smart choice. Criticize me. Gila bejabi kare koi to lazim hai sharm. Do criticize, but with a sense of consciousness. Develop that consciousness and then criticize. If you take that course, you will lead us to reform. If you don't take that course, you will lead us to chaos. Choice is again yours. Change is always good, provided that it is guided by light and beacon. If the change is for the sake of change, it leads to anarchy, it leads to chaos. And there are certain conservative historians who say that it is better to have centuries of tyranny. What? Centuries of tyranny rather than few weeks of anarchy. Because we have not tasted anarchy. This environment in which we are having this conversation is only possible because there is a guaranteed social order. There is no threat of violence outside this hall or inside this hall. Once you create that threat perception, you can't even have this normal conversation. What to talk of the rest of the things? So ये बड़ी बाबरकत चीज़ है अगर आपने available हो. Westphalian idea of the state started from Europe, and when the European colonizer came to Africa and Asia, colonies, though it may not seem politically correct, but let's be honest about it. Colonization has brought its fruits also. Wherever the colonizers have went, they took their cultural and intellectual value with them. The Arab expansionism, we may not like the colonization of the Europeans of our part of the world, but let's pick up on the example of Arab expansionism. When the Arab expanded and they went to the Mediterranean shores of Spain, they were the one who triggered Renaissance. If there wouldn't have been an Arab entry into the Europe, there wouldn't probably have been any Reformation or Renaissance in the Europe. They were the one who translated all the Greek thought, and that Greek thought from Latin to Arabic was a gift to the colonizers, the European colonizers, from which they benefited. And people like Ibn Khaldun and the rest they nurtured it there. So when the European colonizers came to our side, they have also brought some good things. Development of infrastructure. We still enjoy their trains, but we abuse them. We do take trains, and other infrastructure things. Along with that, the idea of democracy, for which we are so religiously committed, and we want to fight for it, and we want to die for it, and we want to kill for it, wasn't brought to us by Gabriel, by Jibril Amin. It's an idea which was of and is of our earlier masters, which we claim that they are. So we borrowed that idea and we thought it's a good idea of governance, and I subscribe to that. It's a good idea and relatively a good system of governance. So you do take some good things also. And that Westphalian idea of the state, when it was brought to us, there was a huge debate during Pakistan movement. All the religious scholars, where did the guy go who did the recitation, mashallah, he was very, most of our religious scholars were against the idea of Pakistan. From Maulana Abul Kalam Azad to Maulana Madani, and almost every religious scholar, minus one, and that is Iqbal. He stands unique and different. Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madani, who was the director of the Deoband at the time, the most renowned scholarship entity of Sunni Islam, because the Shia Islam more intellectually progressed in Najaf, not in Qom. Hawza in Najaf is more important. But the Sunni Islam in South Asia, it took its intellectual inspiration from Deoband. And Hussain Ahmad Madani strongly resisted the idea of Pakistan. And he would argue in the sociological context that we are one nation. When I go to the platform, I see my Sikh brother, I see my Hindu brother, I see my Christian brother. So we are all one nation. So the definition or the thinking process of Madani Rahmani was anthropological or sociological. It does not have any theological context. He was referring to the platform. He was having a social experiment, interaction with variable faith groups, and he thought that that constitutes the idea of a nation. That's what he thought. And Iqbal is unique. And to this he said, Ajam Hanuz Nadanat Ramuz Ediwana. Ajam is non-Arab. Anyone, when the Arab expansion started eastwards, toward Persia and then Central Asia, North India, and they went towards even today's East Asia, which is ASEAN countries. Somewhere in the trade activity and very few areas were conquered. This is a wrong idea that Islam had its conversion through sword. Rather, the historical evidence tells us that the earlier Arabs discouraged conversions. They discouraged conversions. If the Muslim rule would have been for the spread of religion, and if they had encouraged that, the population of United India, still Hindus are a majority. So how is it possible if the state structure is so oppressive and so forceful for the conversion, and they had the chance for 600 years? 600 years resistance in human history to any idea or faith is unheard of. It's not possible. 600 years is enough a time to convert any group to any